Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your hosts Edward McQueen and April Garner.
And yes, we are live. And good evening to you, Ms. Garner Davis, April Garner. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Well, good. Yeah, April. Today is second day of April, by the way. April Fools was yesterday. So, April, if we'll get right to it into this critical issue that could have an impact if it's not addressed thoroughly, and but we're getting some good vibes that it's going to be addressed, and we're talking about none other than the hate crimes that catapulted or was precipitated by an event that happened maybe some 3 months ago, something like that, in Horry County. We didn't expect that. Not here in down in Horry County, in Conway especially. But those things happen. But we're going to address it, and we're starting off this evening with someone who could kind of give us some detail as to what they're doing and how it can be prevented. If not prevented, at least deterred from that happening again. So, April, this evening we have as our guest none other than Horry County's finest. I'll say that. Solicitor Jimmy Richardson. How are you doing today, Mr. Richardson?
I am wonderful, Edward and April. It's great to be with you guys again, and I appreciate you addressing this very difficult issue.
Good, fantastic. Well, we appreciate you accepting our invitation to come in and talk about it. We've had, it's not something that has not been addressed, at least somewhat. There have been, some press releases and some by the local concerned entities about hate crime and stuff like that, and it's been on the table. But I guess we're asking for your role here this evening is to kind of highlight some of the things that your office as a solicitor's office will play in making it stronger and making a stronger deterrence for something like that happening again.
Well, Edward, one of the things that I think is critical, and it's so great that we can spread a light on this, is that every state is a little bit different. And of course, we're all federal citizens too. And each of those communities have different laws. And many of the states in the United States have hate crime legislation. They have statutes that address hate crime. South Carolina does not. And it has been in front of our General Assembly for several years now, at least 4 years, but no law is passed. The only reason that I can really attribute to that is I think that one of the things that law enforcement, well, not law enforcement, but legislators are always very worried about is First Amendment issues. And obviously, our country gives us almost unvetted ability to say or think or show out in any way we want to, whether we're right or wrong. And that is the way that we as a community vet, we express frustration. We throw these ideas out, and it's up to the rest of us to come in and say, this is beyond the pale. We shouldn't be doing this. This is not favored. So for whatever reason, the state of South Carolina has not passed any sort of hate crime bill. With that, we had the very unfortunate situation of a cross burning in no other place than Conway. And it was in the New York Times. It was in the Washington Post. It was national news. And thank goodness that it doesn't happen very often, and that it is so newsworthy. I mean, what a terrible place to live if this happened every day or every year. It doesn't. But when it does happen, it is incumbent on the law enforcement and the elected solicitor. And I know yours is a very wide audience. So a solicitor is the district attorney for a particular area. And our area is Horry and Georgetown. Most places in New York and New Jersey and Minnesota would call it a district attorney or DA. But we call it the Old English term of solicitor. So it is incumbent upon the solicitor or the police law enforcement to protect the community. And an easy way to look at this is, practically speaking, is the prosecutors and police are given a toolbox. And the laws that we use are those tools that are in there. One tool that is blatantly missing is a hate crime bill. But there are other tools. And what we chose to do in this, since we didn't have anything that really addressed burning a cross, is we used the nuisance action, which is to say, this has been in for forever, but legislature endowed the local solicitors with the ability to go in if a hotel or if a building or if a business or a home was creating a nuisance in a community, then the state could, upon the prompting of the solicitor, go in front of a judge and ask the judge to close that business, that hotel, or that house for up to 1 year. And that is one of the tools that we use. The way we can use that tool is if the occupants are using that place for a drug den where drug sales or drug use goes unchecked. Like you've read about the Yellow House in Myrtle Beach, we've closed that. It could be used for lewd and lascivious conduct, like prostitution or assignation. That is a way to use the nuisance statute. And the third way is the police are just exerting an inordinate amount of time, effort, and energy responding to calls at a certain location. And for that third part, you would have to have, you would compare this house with the 2 or 3 houses around it. And if one house is getting 30 calls for service and the other 2 are getting 1 or 2 calls, then it sticks out like a sore thumb. So really the only tool that fit the cross burning for our office was the nuisance. And we immediately filed it, and we got our stuff together and we presented it to a judge last week and told the judge that these are the number of complaints, this is what's going on, and we asked them for a temporary injunction. And in that case, the judge agreed with us. It was Judge Billy Seals from Marion. He agreed that the house, not only did they burn a cross in the yard, but they were attacking people. They were constantly, police were being called out there. One time, the occupants of the home were said to have used a crossbow and aimed at someone. Everybody from the mailman to the neighbor at the end of the street all knew who these people were and what they were doing. And they came in and testified, and the judge ruled with us to close the house to occupancy, and at least for the time being. And if we get another court date before the year is expired, then we will have to go forward and present the same evidence. But we are determined to protect the people of the community, and that is one way that we have acted to do it.
So, so this has an expiration date on it for that action then?
Yes, sir. Edward, they're under the nuisance action, and none of these tools are silver bullets. So the most that a judge could close it down was for 1 year. And then the people could move back in it. And if the nuisance continued, we would start over and do the same thing again. We've had to close that yellow house 3 or 4 times. But we are persistent, and we will keep working on it. And we will be persistent in this, knowing that nobody should have to live in a community like that. The homeowners that the cross was burnt to discourage were a black family from, I believe, Baltimore, and they were not there all the time. But when they came in the day before, it was a Thanksgiving holiday when it all happened. They had posted to Facebook that they were going to bring in the demons of hell to go against these people and to show them a really hard time. And that, of course, was played out in court also. So, we'll be persistent. We'll do what we need to do to protect the community.
So what kind of effort is required in order to expand on the expiration date? If you all want to go through the process again of saying we want another year or two, we're keeping these people out.
The very most that any judge can close a place under the nuisance statute is 1 year, and then the people will be allowed back in. But what I am telling you is that if at the end of that year, if they come back in and start the same mess that got them into this trouble, we will go right back to court and do it for another year and another year until I'm gone. I mean, we're not going to allow that to happen in the community, with or without a hate crime bill. At the same time, we're working with our federal partners, because the feds do have a hate crime bill, and there may very well be other charges that would come about because of these same incidences. But the state just does not have that tool. So we will go forward with every tool that we've got at our discretion.
Well, I see that they're no longer there, and so we, in essence, I think this happened about 5 months ago, right? Something like that.
Yeah, it happened 5 months ago, but it took that long to get into court. And when we got into court, one other part that I failed to mention is we understand that people have lives even when they do wrong things. So we asked the judge to give them a week to get out any essentials that they needed, to get out any food sources that could go bad, remove any pets. And at the close of that week, which would have meant this week, they would be out of the house, and the house would be boarded up and taped off, and any person, whether they were the owners or not, that came across that property would be considered trespassers and be arrested for it. So that house should sit vacant until we hear otherwise, or until a year is up.
Well, this sounds like an option that was, to me, is worth taking since you don't have anything else. That was the best option there was, right?
Yeah, there was nothing else. If we'd have had a hate bill, we would have certainly considered using that. But we used the best tool available to us. And hopefully between now and the year's end, our federal partners will have had time to do anything that they want to do. We had to do it just as quickly as possible. And we were working with the family of the aggrieved party the entire time. So they were extremely happy about us doing, the best of our abilities to go forward, very supportive. And I think that they came in and testified, and they did a tremendous job. And I think the right thing happened. Some of the stuff that was in the filings, these people had dug trenches all around the property, very deep trenches, almost like warfare, World War I warfare, where you could walk without being seen inside of the trenches. Just a lot of weird stuff that was going on there, and crossbows and crosses, and nobody should have to live under that sort of. A neighborhood shouldn't be held hostage by that sort of shenanigans.
So, Solicitor Richardson, I have 2 questions, and there's also a comment in the audience thread. I'll show the comment from Tim McCrae. And he, of course, mentions we got to get our state leaders to pass the hate crime bill. One of the questions that I have is, you were talking about, some of the things that the occupants of the home, the ones who offended their neighbors, did was to dig these trenches, and they had all of these, I guess, unbelievable things that they were doing. Does it not fall under like a domestic terrorist type of a, definition at all? Is law enforcement concerned about the fact that this couple's actions could be the extension of a much bigger group or cell that might be prevalent in Horry County, Georgetown County, or even somewhere in the state or the nation? Have those thoughts ever crossed your minds?
Yes, ma'am. And the truth is, I have thought about those things, and it could be considered domestic terrorism. But again, domestic terrorist is a crime that is reserved for the federal government, and they don't give the state. So the feds may very well be considering that. We had to go in and do something immediately, and the only tool in our box was the nuisance tool.
The nuisance, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yes, it's concerning, and it is very strange activity, and I think the neighborhood was very scared and concerned. And another part is they were not. It wasn't like they were saying everybody's bad. It was, for the most part, all of the grievances in that area was coming from that one home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since there was federal intervention there, and I believe there was federal intervention, did they lay out any platform for which you all could use other, beyond what used as the Nuisance Act, and that they're willing to participate in and encourage you all to take?
Yeah, we worked. See, the feds, and this is not breaking anything to you, April or Edward, but the feds, they are good partners as long as you're telling them everything, but they don't tell you very much at all. And hey, I've got too much to worry about. But we we're constantly in contact with them and saying, is this going to mess up your cases that are coming forward? And we worked to make sure that we didn't mess up anything the feds were trying to do. But the news captured many FBI agents going through those same trenches. And it was a federal case from the beginning. So it would not surprise me if they were to bring some sort of charges. What will be a surprise is the date and time of those, because they don't share a lot of information like we share with them. It's kind of a one-way street. And again, that I'm not meaning that to be critical. It's just, it's how they're wired.
It's the nature.
Yeah. So they are continually working the case. They probably won't reach out to me unless they want one of my prosecutors to do it. But this is, when you get into hate crime bills, those cases generally go up to DC and then come back. The marching orders are from DC and not from the local federal buildings in Columbia or Florence. So even more so, the prosecutors in DC generally won't call or say anything, and I'll learn about whatever they're going to do when you learn about it.
There's a comment from one of our viewers, Tiffany Andrews. Moving forward, what can we as a community do to protect ourselves? Why did it take so long to learn of the nuisance law?
Tiffany is, I know Tiffany, she's a wonderful person, and really keeps us on our toes, but it's super in helping law enforcement. So
yeah.
Thank you, Tiffany. We almost immediately filed an action for the nuisance, but anytime you're having to go through court, we have to sort of get in line with everybody else. So we're not in criminal court anymore, where I've got a much higher voice. We're in civil court. And what we did do is say, Judge, the damage that could happen here cannot be fixed. So we need a temporary order. We need you to give us 10, 15 minutes temporarily, so that we can close this place down until you have a chance to hear it all. And that is what's happened so far. So we put a rush on it, and the judge heard it, but we didn't go through the full court hearing. But the court hearing, they may not hear us in the course of a year, and it may all be over with by the time they hear that case. If it is, the question is moot. We even worked with the other side, the lawyers on the other side, to see if there was anything that we could do quicker, and sort of not necessarily a plea deal, because we're in civil court, but pretty much the same thing. Is there a pathway moving forward without the courts? And we didn't get anything to our satisfaction there. So great question, but we filed it immediately, and then we waited for the service to take place, the summons and complaint, and for the court to docket it.
So as we discuss the fact that South Carolina still doesn't have a hate crimes bill or law, what do you think it will take in order to move that needle? Are there advocacy groups that need to raise their voices louder? Are there, just everyday citizens that need to write their representatives or the governor? What's going to push that, considering the fact that these crimes will continue to happen? The act that you have is really, like you said, a workaround, and hopefully it won't, if it happens again, or if there are any kind of crimes like this that happen again, hopefully they won't result in any bodily injury or death. And you would hate to think that that's what it will take for the state to sit up and take notice. What
I
are your thoughts there?
I deal with Edward quite a bit, so he knows me very well, and Tiffany does. And I am about as non-political as a person could ever be. I don't even like politics. It's part of this job, but you know, I put my opinion in. I tell our local legislators what I think. I don't know what they have to deal with in the what is blocking it. I have no idea why we wouldn't already have one. But I do think that it will take reaching out to our local representatives and if I could say anything for your audience, people, flies respond better to honey than they do vinegar. So be kind in your letters, but I think a handwritten letter to your representative or your senator would go a long way. A dear friend of mine and mentor of mine is Greg Hembry, and Greg has told me that in this way the tail really does wag the dog. If those legislators get a few 5, 10 handwritten letters, it is like the world is caved in on them. But they're not going to respond to emails. They get thousands of those. But if your audience feels comfortable doing it, just a handwritten kind note saying this is what's going on, and I really would covet your support for a hate crimes bill. I think that would go a long way. And one, to end on a high note, I am so thankful to live in an area where this is shocking. It should be. It should not happen every day or every year. And maybe that is why the legislature has been hesitant to move on this. That may be it. It is a rarity. Thank goodness.
Tiffany posed one more good question about support groups for the family and the community to deal with PTSD. I'm sure that doesn't come directly from your agency or whatever in terms of, providing that kind of support. But do you know of support groups or agencies that will embrace the families and help them through this traumatic event?
We are fortunate to have Chief Joe Hill. And Horry County has done outstanding work and Chief Hill has personally talked with the victims numerous times, and our office has talked with them numerous times. And Chief Hill has been a linchpin in providing support for the families and making sure they're comfortable and making sure they have everything that they need. So he is a godsend, and he has just been a wonderful chief of police, and he has made that available to them. Now, if our community wants to reach out, different 501 type corporations, they can get the information on how to reach the victims through Chief Hill because he is in personal contact with them quite a bit.
That's awesome. So it's good that kind of support, is an extension of what law enforcement does beyond just, trying to resolve the criminal case or to solve it. That helps families as well to at least give them a sense of some type of closure, or at least movement towards closure, knowing that they have that kind of support, and that they're not just left to deal with the big feelings or even, the mixed feelings that they have about things. And so I think it hopefully helps them with their understanding and their patience as well, as they're dealing with these kinds of matters. And so Solicitor Richardson, you shared with us some other information that are positive notes, data concerning Horry and Georgetown County. Do you want to take a few minutes to talk about some of the highlights that you discussed with us pre-show?
Sure, April. This shocked me, and I told you, but Chief Mark Keel with South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, every year sends out a report, not statewide, but to every individual circuit. And again, our circuit is Horry and Georgetown. And he and I talked about it, and he was like, "I don't know what you're doing there, but it is pretty incredible, these numbers. We are at or below the state average. Now, we're the fastest growing area in America, but we are at or below the state average in every conceivable violent, nonviolent category except rape, and we are above average in that field. But breaking into cars, we're below average. Violent crimes, armed robberies, murders, we're below average. And we're continuously dropping in those categories. Even in the instances of CSC, or criminal sexual conduct and rape, there was a 19.8% decline from 2021 to 2022 to 2023. So right at 20% decline there. But there's a lot of good stuff that's happening. And certainly I would love to take credit for it. And I probably did when I was talking to Chief Keel. But the truth is, we live in a wonderful community. And it is an anomaly to have something reach the New York Times or the Washington Post. It's a real slice of heaven. But to have all of those numbers dipping was pretty fantastic. The other side to that argument, and I noticed that y'all talked about fentanyl, but a more disturbing undercurrent may very well be that those people that would commit a majority of the property crimes, the theft, stealing your golf cart, your lawnmower, your grill, are addicts. And with the addition in the last 8 or 10 years of fentanyl, that is basically playing Russian roulette. And a lot of those people are dying. And I warn our community members, even marijuana, we found it to be laced with fentanyl. We found cocaine and heroin. A lot of these drugs are mixed with fentanyl. And fentanyl it's an opioid, but it's about 40 times stronger than heroin. Fentanyl has been around for at least 50 years.
But not like this.
No, but as a medical use, it's been around. It just wasn't flooded. You had to go to the hospital, and if you had stage 4 cancer or a debilitating, life-ending disease, the doctors could treat you with a fentanyl patch, a time-released patch that kept you from being in such tremendous pain. We've all got family members that unfortunately have passed away because of cancer. And some of those would have been on fentanyl patches. But fentanyl was never made to be distributed recreationally. And there's a lot more than your county solicitor can do. But all of our fentanyl is coming in across the border, and it is going up. Most of our drugs travel up to the Northeast and then back down the I-95 corridor. So there's a lot of fentanyl out there, and you could put 2 or 3 grains of fentanyl in a gram of cocaine, a gram of heroin, and really not even change the molecular weight, but it would double the potency of it. So fentanyl being used as a mixer has been a real tough thing for Americans to deal with. We've had an opioid problem, for a long time, and now with the addition of fentanyl, which is this major opioid, it is really causing havoc, and a lot of deaths are resulting from fentanyl overdoses. And that's where you hear about Narcan and our firefighters and our police officers going around with Narcan as first responders to try to keep people, if you can get to them with the Narcan, it can reverse the impact of fentanyl, and people can wake right up if people get to them in time. But so many people have passed away because of taking something that they did not know had fentanyl in it.
So what kind of age group are we looking at here that seem to be on the verge of abusing such relaxer as fentanyl?
You can see it. A really tough group that's been hit with it is 18 to 25-year-olds.
Okay.
Probably the least pain-ridden people in America.
Yeah.
But now you have outliers, and we have seen people at 16 and younger than 18 to 25, and we've seen people older because it is highly addictive. Heroin is highly addictive. Opioids are highly addictive, and then fentanyl, you don't stay addicted to it long because it usually kills the people that are taking it. But 18 to 25, early to mid 20s.
So I'm sure they're aware of the risk of being fatal as a result of taking fentanyl, and so the feeling must outweigh all of that once you take it.
Yeah, I think so. And what happens? It's so unfortunate, but no one ever starts off with fentanyl. No one ever starts off with a needle in their arm for heroin. Almost every person that we see that is addicted to opioids started out with prescription opioids, Oxycontin, oxycodone, hydrocodone, and those drugs are so addictive that if you were to get a tooth pulled or have a broken arm, a doctor may give you some to block that pain, but you can leave with a monkey on your back in as quick as 30 days. And then your brain's telling you that you're in pain and you need more and more heroin. And at some point, someone's going to mix, because heroin's cheaper on the black market than Oxycontin and oxycodone. It's more dangerous. It's cheaper. And when that is mixed with fentanyl, you may have built up some sort of tolerance to heroin, but it's very hard to build up a tolerance to fentanyl. It's 40 times stronger than heroin.
Wow. Man, I think these kind of statistics should be grappling in everybody's mind, because I think the last time you were on with us, which was back in 21, you gave some horrific statistics of what fentanyl is doing, and you rated that at the level as high than or just as high as the worst drug that Horry County was dealing with, and Horry County was almost in not necessarily a crisis stage with fentanyl, but it was high up there enough to draw attention, or should draw attention anyway, to all of law enforcement. Now you mentioned Narcan, I think that's what it was that dilutes it, or Do you think you have enough of that?
Yes, sir. And I'm not suggesting that anybody go out and pick up a opioid habit.
Right.
But if you have a family member that, and most people do, that have an addiction to opioids, you can pick it up at the Walgreens or the CVS, the Narcan. And what we have seen some addicts do is take drugs in pairs. So one will sit there with the Narcan and while the other takes. And if they fall out, then the person that has yet to ingest will give the Narcan to his friend and get him out of that arrest, that heart arrest, or it really slows down everything. So we've seen that. But on the flip side, we've seen people get Narcan as many times as 3 times in a 24-hour period. Now, Edward, that means a person takes drugs, opioids, dies, is brought back to life with Narcan, takes it again, is brought back, and takes it again, and is brought back 3 times in one day in a 24-hour period. So the addiction is real, and it is very hard to shake. I've been in the solicitor's office since 1998, and for the longest time, you didn't even see heroin. Our area had cocaine and crack cocaine, but you never saw heroin. That was more of a port drug, or Charleston,
Right. Yeah.
but nothing here. And since about 2012, you started seeing it almost double every year, up until it probably peaked and plateaued around 2021. Now, that doesn't mean we're at levels that are sustainable, but it means instead of it continuing to rise, it has sort of peaked and plateaued. And we do a lot in schools and to try to warn people, hey, our police officers will not even test drugs on the side of the road anymore because it is so small. And if it doesn't have to blow in your eye with the wind, it could blow in your hand. And there have been occasions where the fentanyl gets up under the glove, and it can put the police officer in danger very quickly. So we don't even test drugs on the side of the road anymore like we have done for 20 or 30 years. It's all now.
Yeah, you all had those methods some time ago. They have one of our commenters asked from Ms. Edna DeWitt asked that could you please shed the light on vaping? A lot of the young generation that I've seen and heard about this, they're doing this, she says.
Vaping hit our market maybe 4 years ago, and a lot of the younger kids are doing it. It is a smokeless tobacco, but they can put anything in vapes also. Marijuana, I've seen that in vape machines. And I don't know that we have seen the studies of how dangerous it could be. I've heard that some doctors are saying it may be more dangerous than cigarettes, which is hard to believe when cigarettes are coated in tar, and a lot of that stuff is not in vape machines. But apparently, in some cases, it's calling what's called popcorn lung, where your lungs, instead of being fibrous and pink and coarse together, it creates polyps all in the lungs. And I don't know. It took a long time to figure out how dangerous cigarettes could be, and I'm worried that the vaping
Yeah.
could be as bad. But
Yeah. I don't know if there's been a lot of research on the effects of vaping. I haven't seen anything written anyway. Yet at the same time, I haven't seen too many warnings either of vaping. But if all around Horry County, from what I've seen, vaping stores are popping up. Okay, at a tremendous rate.
everywhere and in every gas station,
Yeah.
So it feels like, Edward, we're always saying, we are our parents now. We're don't do this, don't do that. There's a whole list of don't do's. And nobody's trying to say, don't have fun. But there are things out there that we just don't know the full effects of right now. And I think vaping is one of them.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you. Well, here, Ms. McIver asked, why do we have so many vape businesses near schools? And that is a fact. I mean, they seem to pop up around schools. I guess that's a major target, young people.
Yeah, Mr. McIver, that is, we've been friends for a long time. I think that may be part of the plan. We had to bring the tobacco industry in kicking and screaming, but they were doing cartoons, with Joe Camel and all that.
Yeah.
Clearly marked to get children addicted.
Yeah.
There's no reason to get Mr. McIver addicted. You want somebody that's 18 or 17 or 16 that's going to be around 30, 40, 50 years, vaping. They ain't interested in Jimmy or Mr. McIver.
There's a clarification there. That's Mrs. McIver.
I'm
the
sorry.
Majority,
McIver.
Marjorie McIver. That's okay.
Sorry.
She understands. She's ever forgiving. So and I looked at that, and it seemed like it in every shopping center, especially a small shopping center.
And this is where none of us are safe as long as the legislators are in session. That's a joke that goes around every year. It's better off when they're at home over the summer. But they took the marijuana laws that have been there forever, and then they throwed over the top of them some openings for hemp. And what you're seeing a lot of too, along with the vape shops, is some hemp products. And that is legal, unless it tests above a certain degree of THC. That is legal, and that's in stores too, and that's in a lot of the vape type machines. But again, I don't know that enough research has been done. Some people have said that they get a very light sedation and a calming from THC. So I think the question is still out on that. My mom raised me that if you could avoid even an aspirin, don't take it. Anything you can keep from putting in your body, try not to do it. Now, if you got a busting headache, pop a BC, but you can get addicted to them too. And stand back. There, exactly. I got to pack up them in the car, but I try not to take them until I've gotten to a spot where I need some relief. But anything that you can avoid getting addicted to, you're better off, even if it's too much chicken, which I do have an addiction to, obviously.
That's 90%. You're in the 90 percentile.
Yeah, I wish I was in Mr. McQueen's percentile. You got good genes, small.
Well,
but
no. I don't know how to address that. It's
Yeah.
just,
Well, you're better off than I am. We've been together too many times. You've got good genes going.
well, that's good. Just glad to hear that. You're certainly great company. Every time we meet, we have meetings and so forth. So appreciate
Sure.
all that. Yeah.
And I thank you for hosting such a forum because people need to be in a relaxed environment,
Right.
and be able to discuss things. And it's not necessarily always no. It's just let's find the answers and figure out where we're at.
Okay. But you won't have too much time here, solicitor. But before we go, I don't know if everyone was aware, and may have been told at the last meeting that we had, that just want to send out some words of comfort to Chief Hill for the loss of his wife. She passed.
I just heard that today.
Yeah, a few days ago, and he's certainly a great gentleman. And you know as well as I know that he's been a very good participant in community. Whenever you ask on him to come from a place, I mean, he doesn't hesitate. So
He's a wonderful man, and we're lucky.
Yeah.
And I am so sorry when I heard that today,
Right.
because he's a family man too.
Yes. Absolutely. So we send our condolences out to him. So look, it's been great. Each time you come on, man, you bring these statistics. That's kind of, if they don't scare you up, it makes you start thinking.
Yeah.
So I certainly appreciate that your presence, and you appreciate you're willing to accept the invitation to come and talk about things like that, because it's certainly needed. So to our audience that hang around, because we got another guest for about 2 or 3 minutes to make an announcement. So Solicitor Richardson, thanks again. And if you have any more closing comments, you're certainly happy to have you say them.
No, I'll just say, Edward, if you ever have anybody that drops out at the last minute, call me. I enjoy getting together with you and discussing these topics, and I'd be glad to do it. Call me at any time, and if I can fill in, I'll certainly be glad to.
Oh, that's a great statement. We're glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm certainly glad to hear that, and because I'm sure you have something new each time. You're being updated yourself, and you come into new developments, and we certainly can use those. So thank you so much again, and we'll be talking.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
I'll see you at the next meeting.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, we had we have a representative from an organization that implements the International Men's Conference, and it's kind of curious that it's being headed by a young lady that has captured people's interest and being a leader in that. So we thought it would be pertinent information for especially the youth in the area to kind of just listen to what she has to say. So she's going to complete it in about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so if she's in the show, I'd certainly like to have her on and give us your 3 or 4 minutes worth of stuff that you promised, Miss Lloyd. So,
yes. Well, good evening, Mr. Edward McQueen, and thank you for having me on the WMC Live show. I am Davina Lloyd, the owner and founder of Diamond Dynasty Productions. I'm also the owner and founder of People Over Profit Lloyd Foundation, which I started in my grandfather's legacy.
right.
So why is a woman doing a men's conference? Well,
God, I didn't mean it like that. I mean,
oh, no, it's okay. I want to answer because guess
Yeah.
what? It's probably a lot of people wondering.
Yeah,
And when they
yeah.
hear my story, which I'll make short, they'll know. I actually started the nonprofit in the legacy of my grandfather, Irvin Lloyd. I used to help him serve at the men's shelter back home in Philadelphia.
Right.
I also was the only woman on the board, the youngest and Black woman on Montgomery County Housing and Development, where we helped homeless people, family, men in transition, women in transition come out of situations and help them to get homes, public housing, and on the voucher choice program. I also served on the prison ministry back home, and I was one of the top promoters in the tri-state county of Philadelphia, Jersey, and Delaware, where I work with all headhunter men. So I've been working with men all of my life in all types of formats and positions. Last year, God gave me a vision to kind of help. I saw some men maybe in distress, going through divorces, loss of job, just dealing with life, and I wanted to do something to help them. So me and my best friend John Smalls, we were kind of just sitting in the gym, and I was like, we should have a men's meeting. That meeting quickly turned into a conference. And he helped sponsor it at the Black-owned Freewoods Farms, which is one of the largest Black-owned farms here. So thank you for Freewoods for allowing me to do that. Now it has grown because of my business consulting here with Diamond Dynasty. I do business consulting here in Myrtle Beach. I've been able to develop working relationships with business owners and families and people from all walks of life. And I hear some of the stories, and I want to tell all the parents and all the youth leaders, listen to the youth. We can't just tell them what to do. We can't just try to make them do something. Actually listen to them and see what they're going through so we can try to find solutions to help them. I do now have a men's committee, and I have a whole board of directors, which last year I didn't have any of that. I do now have a men's conference website where you can go on the website and find a plethora of information about the Men's International Empowerment Conference on June 8th at Asher Theater, starting at 9 a.m., registration at 8:30 a.m. When I sat down with my team, I asked them,
let me interrupt. Can you share that website information? The website address?
Yes, I actually have right here. It's diamonddynastyproductions.com/men's-conference. So it's actually a subpage because I have my business consulting page. I now have the men's conference page, and I'll also have the nonprofit coming alongside of that. So basically I sat down with my team and they said, hey, I asked them, what do you want to do? They said they wanted to do something with the youth. They want to help out the youth. So that's how the youth got involved this year. Now it has been the law of attraction. I've been attracting organizations that's going to help build out youth programs to be able to get training and trade skills for youth that may not go to college. So we can actually give them training, employ them, get them off the streets, and help them to get income to have sustainable lives. We'll also have educational workshops too, going on alongside of whatever trade that they're going to have, such as job readiness program, resume writing, and all sorts of things. So this is where the youth comes involved. Now, I want to talk. I'm sorry. Yep. Go ahead.
So all of this is would be highlighted at your at the Asher Theater
Yes. And
okay,
yes.
Can you give us a date on that? And that was June.
Sure. It's June 8th. Okay. The Asher Theater, June 8th, and you can scan the QR code. At 9 a.m. It's actually a pre-Father's Day edition. So if you think about Father's Day, it's the week before. And we kind of use that as a marketing tool to have it. When you think of fathers, a father doesn't always mean a father in a home. As you know, there may be a lot of single parents. I know single fathers, right? I know single mothers. So this is a chance for the men to come together in brotherhood and kind of pour out to the youth that we're going to be hosting, about 50 and 60 youth, to say, hey, we see you, we hear you, we want to help you, and here's our information to do so.
You've covered a lot, and that's really really very informative in the way you had it laid out, and I'm certainly glad you're utilizing the Asher Theater, for that performance. Now, is there something concrete or something, so hard copies that you could send out to people if you give them the information of where they can get it? another thing I would suggest is that, and you've already communicated with the magazine regarding that. So in the interest of time, I'm just letting you know this thing, in the interest of time, because we our time is almost up, it's 8 o'clock, so after. So, but if you send it to the magazine, we can, subsequently, just dispense it to a wider audience in order for that, because it's a very, very interesting, I call it a project, but
It's
yeah. So,
movement,
but anyway, we don't have a whole lot of time here left. So in the interest of time, if you could send that to the magazine, okay. Whatever's required, and especially that flyer, I believe, that they just put up.
Yep.
Right. And I think they're going to be asking the question about a female empowering.
But at least now it's answered. Now they can say why, because I've been working under my grandfather in the church and the prison ministry and all the other stuff. I know we're
going to talk some more, okay? But we have to go now. In the interest of time. So thank you so much for that.
I'll send the information.
And again, all it takes is just to send it to the magazine. You communicate. You have our email and so forth.
Yes.
And we'll subsequently dispense it as wide as we can. Okay. And
awesome.
And in fact, we'll try and have you on the show again.
Okay, great. That will be awesome. Yes, because I want to get into the speakers and the programs and everything we have planned.
Okay. All right. So look, thank you so much.
Thank you. Lloyd. Have a good evening.
It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to hear some more about that. Okay?
Yes, same here. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks. All right, there you have it. Thank Ms. Lloyd and Solicitor Richardson for tonight's program, and both have been very, very informative. And I tell you, I get delighted when I start, receiving all this kind of information from all sides. About fentanyl, the update on the cross burning in Conway. Beautiful downtown Conway. So Horry County, for that matter. And of course, can't wait to really get some more update on the men's conference headed by Ms. Lloyd. So I'd like to say it's been a pleasure for my guest tonight, and a pleasure for you all to be listening. We had a lot of comments coming in. Tiffany, and Betty Goss, and Edna DeWitt, and Marjorie McIver, and it's just a lot of people. So thank you so much, and Godspeed. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, we're going to be talking about some taxes next week, and a will, okay? Because it's getting their tax time, end of tax time, right? Okay, so kind of stay tuned, and we'll keep you updated and get the information out to you, okay? Because that's our job. All right. So for April and myself, we wish you all good night and Godspeed. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.